Chapter 457 The Academy's Soul Engineer Legion Plan. Yes. Who are you? Acknowledged once again before leaving Elder Sun's room. He didn't remain in the Sea God's pavilion, but went back to the Tang Sect. His body had just recovered, and he didn't dare to toil the entire night. He returned to the Tang Sect, where his own room was, and began to meditate to recover his physical strength. On the morning of the second day, he ate his breakfast before Bei gathered the senior management of the Tang Sect for a meeting. Who are you? Went to report to Elder Sun the night before. Shu Sanchi recounted the entire process in detail as a means of updating Bei. Just like Elder Sun had mentioned, the Tang Sect Soul Tool Hall was very busy. Shrek Academy sent all their teachers and students from the Soul Tool department to the Tang Sect, personally led by Dean Chen Duo. They were now all under Sun's Wen. The Academy also sent over all types of resources, and Dean Shenliner and Teacher Fan led a batch of teachers from the Martial Soul department to instruct the students of the Academy as well as the Shrek City Defense Army on the use of Soul Tools. The Tang Sect had already been relocated into two different areas. One of them was at the original address, while the other region was a huge factory that was used to manufacture Soul Tools. Eldest Senior. Who are you? Hurriedly greeted Bei when he saw him. However, Bei was unkind to him. He said, Little Junior, you aren't allowed to perform any missions without my permission from now on. What? Who are you? Was shocked as he looked at him. He asked, Eldest Senior, why is that so? Bei ferociously banged the table and furiously said, Before you left, what did I tell you? My words have fallen on deaf ears, haven't they? You disregarded your own safety and took such a huge risk. How dare you still ask me why? Ugh. Who are you? Suddenly looked very embarrassed. He scratched his head and looked at Shu Sanchi helplessly. Shu Sanchi chuckled and said, Yuao, don't look at me. You were injured earlier, such that I couldn't bear to reprimand you. Did you really think I couldn't tell what you were planning? I was fooled by you at the start. After that, I realized that the door that you left behind was supposed to be used to return back to the base. Am I right? This means that you didn't stand a chance at all. If not for the power that DTN left in your body, you would have been dead. Eldest Senior is right. Don't go out and perform any missions anymore. Remain in the sect and focus on your cultivation. Who are you? Revealed a disgruntled look on his face. Third Senior, you can't put it that way. I was forced by circumstances then, wasn't I? If I didn't help the Daluo Empire achieve a decisive victory, the Sun Moon Empire would have run riot in the Heavenly Soul Empire. Bei looked very cold. All right, there's no use in saying all of that. Sit down. Whatever it is, you won't be allowed to leave Shrek City without my permission. Otherwise, you'll be expelled from the sect. Bei was normally very refined and very nice in his treatment of the members of Shrek's 7 monsters. This was especially so for Hua Yuao. This was his first time he had lost his temper against Hua Yuao. Hua Yuao was instantly very fearful and didn't dare to argue back. He could only sit down disappointingly, and he appeared very helpless. Nan Kyokaiu was sitting beside him and started to secretly laugh. Hua Yuao was frustrated as he glanced at her. He asked, Is it that funny? Nan Kyokaiu chortled, You deserve it. Who asked you to lose your cool? We support Eldest Senior's punishment of you. Just remain in the sect and cultivate. At this moment, Bei said, During these few days that you went around, the Tang Sect has already started to move on all fronts. According to Elderson's instructions, what we need to do first is equip an army that is capable of resisting the Sun Moon Empire's Soul Engineer legions. The members of this army will be formed by the teachers and outstanding students of the Academy. I'm going to repeat the plan now, and we'll see if anyone has anything to add. The Academy has considered the opinions of all parties after a conference. They've decided to set up 3 Soul Engineer legions. 3. Hua Yuao was slightly shocked when he heard this number. If they were like the Sun Moon Empire, each Soul Engineer Legion would be composed of 500 people. This meant that equipping 3 Soul Engineer Legions would mean equipping 1,500 people. How easy was it to create enough equipment for 1,500 people to use? Furthermore, the Sun Moon Empire's Soul Engineer Legions were strong in the sense that their Soul Tool technologies were leading in the entire continent. Formations of Soul Tools and linked Soul Tools were some things that the Tang Sect lacked. Why were there so few casualties from the Sun Moon Empire's Soul Engineer Legions when they fought? Hundreds of the Sun Moon Empire's Soul Engineers unleashed linked Soul Tools, creating a line of defense that even transcendent Douluo were helpless against. Wasn't it a little too hasty for the Academy to set up 3 Soul Engineer Legions? Bei glanced at Hua Yuao and managed to see how astonished he was. A smiling intent flashed across his face. However, he soon returned to his cold and indifferent look and continued, saying, Out of these 3 Soul Engineer Legions, the first legion will be called the Tang Sect Soul Engineer Legion. The Academy approved this name. It'll also be the most elite legion out of the 3. It'll consist of 200 Soul Engineers. They'll all be equipped with the most advanced technologies that the Tang Sect possesses right now. All the Soul Engineers will at least be Soul Emperors. The leader of this legion will be Dean Shenliner, and the vice leader of this legion will be Dean Chen Duo. At the same time, there'll be 10 titled Douluo in this legion, all from the Academy. However, Dean Shenliner will be the only transcendent Douluo. 200. That's still rather reliable. Hua Yuao heaved a slight sigh of relief when he heard that. However, he opened his eyes wide when he heard 10 titled Douluo. 10 titled Douluo. Even the Sun Moon Empire's Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Legion, the strongest out of the hand that protects the nation, didn't have so many titled Douluo. Moreover, all the Soul Engineers from this legion would at least be Soul Emperors, even though there were only 200 of them. It really seemed like they wanted to create the number 1 Soul Engineer Legion on the continent. Bei said, Currently, we've decided to equip this Soul Engineer Legion with custom-made Soul Tools, including the newly created batch of linked Soul Tools. Teacher Sun will also personally supervise and participate in the creation of core parts of all equipment. We've predicted that we'll be able to fully equip all of them within half a year to a year's time. Hua Yuao lifted his hand and said, Eldest Senior, I have a question. Bei glanced at him and said, What's the question? Hua Yuao said, Given the Tang Sect's current abilities, there shouldn't be no problem creating Soul Tools for Soul Emperors. In terms of linked Soul Tools, we shouldn't have a problem either, since we have Teacher Sun. However, Soul Emperors should only be a small part of this Soul Engineer Legion. Soul Sages, Soul Douluo and titled Douluo will make up the large bulk of this Soul Engineer Legion. The Soul Tools that they will be using should be even more advanced. Otherwise, they won't be effective enough. Do we have the ability to create so many advanced Soul Tools? Bei nodded and thought to himself. No wonder he's our little junior. He managed to find the core of the problem so quickly. Your question is very good. Yes, we won't be able to create so many suitable Soul Tools given our current abilities. This is why, after much discussion, we've decided that the Tang Sect Soul Engineer Legion will be composed entirely of close combat Soul Engineers. For all the Soul Tools we are going to manufacture, we've decided to focus on those that increase speed and offensive strength. Secondarily, they'll be tailored to increase survivability on the battlefield. The only linked Soul Tool will be for mass defense. After hearing his words, Hua Yuao was immediately enlightened. At the same time, his eyes brightened. It's a great idea, isn't it? What are the Soul Masters from Shrek Academy most adept at? It's the way they fight. In the entire continent, Shrek Academy is the best in this aspect. Since this is the case, why would we focus on long-range attacks, close combat Soul Engineers, increasing speed, offensive strength, and survivability? If we can achieve all these, we would naturally increase the fighting strength of our Soul Masters. If that's the case, that's great then. Eldest Senior, you can continue. Hua Yuao was in awe as he looked at Bei. Bei glared at him unkindly and continued, saying, For the other 2 Soul Engineer Legions, there will be more people. The first of the other 2 Soul Engineer Legions will be called the Heavy Artillery Soul Engineer Legion. They'll be equipped with the most advanced Juga Divine Crossbow cannons. They'll be given 300 of them, of varying classes. There'll be a total of 1,000 Soul Masters in the Legion. Our aim is to ensure the agility of our heavy cannons as we increase our firepower, and also to ensure that the Soul Engineers wielding these cannons will be able to get into formations at the quickest speed under any condition and at any place. Currently, we've already requested the purchase of a huge batch of low to mid-tier Soul Cannon shells. Some of them have even secretly been imported from the Sun Moon Empire. In addition, we are also manufacturing our own cannon shells. Heavy Artillery Soul Engineer Legion. It was much simpler to equip such a Soul Engineer Legion. The Tang Sect had already been producing Juga Divine Crossbow cannons, and thus had an increasing stock of them. However, the stronger a cannon was, the less portable it was. How could they ensure that they could move the cannons as quickly as possible? Furthermore, they still had to preserve the fighting strength of the cannons. What they needed was sufficient sealed milk bottles to support these cannons. Wait, 1,000 people and 300 cannons? It seems like Eldest Senior is trying to use people to make up for the lack of sealed milk bottles. After all, every Soul Master is a source of energy. If they take turns to pour soul power into the Juga Divine Crossbow cannons, They should be able to attack continuously for some time. If 300 Juga Divine Crossbow Cannons are fired at the same time, they would unleash terrifying strength. Huo Yuao could still clearly remember that Juga Divine Crossbow Cannons had played a very critical role in Shrek City when the Beast Wave came. Bei Bei said, the 3rd Soul Engineer Legion will be named the 4th Soul Engineer Legion. It'll be composed of 1,500 Soul Masters. Comparatively speaking, this batch of Soul Masters will be of lower cultivations, and they'll only be equipped with one type of Soul Tool, a modified all-terrain self-driving fort. Every fort can only carry 5 people. As a result, this Soul Engineer Legion will be equipped with 300 such forts. After hearing such a number, Huo Yuao was astonished. He first thought of the sheer amount of rare metals they needed to produce so many self-driving forts and Juga Divine Crossbow Cannons. Bei Bei instantly saw through what he was thinking and took the initiative to answer his doubts before he even posed his question. To conserve resources and increase the speed of manufacture, we've hired blacksmiths from the Heavenly Soul, Douluo and Dalu empires on high payrolls. They'll proceed with the manufacturing of the outer shells of the cannons and forts. All the metal outer shells will be built using fine iron. Although this can greatly reduce the defensive tenacity and durability of these cannons and forts, it's the only way to manufacture so many soul tools as quickly as possible. According to our estimates, the 3 Soul Engineer Legions should be fully equipped within a year's time. Relentless. This was Huo Yuao's immediate reaction after he heard Bei Bei's words. The Academy is really going all out this time. These 3 Soul Engineer Legions consist of a total of 2,700 Soul Masters, including more than 10 titled Douluo. This is indeed the strength of Shrek Academy. The Sun Moon Empire would never expect them to manufacture the outer shells of such large-scale soul tools using fine iron. After all, soul tools were precious in the sense that they were durable. How could fine iron compare to rare metals? At least, it was unlikely that the Sun Moon Empire would use fine iron to manufacture soul tools. However, the Tang Sect was going to do just that. The only advantage that the Tang Sect had over the Sun Moon Empire was the mechanical blueprints for the Tang Sect's hidden weapons that originated from the ancient Tang Sect. Huo Yuao could guess without even asking. Apart from the most critical parts, all of the soul tools they were going to manufacture were likely going to be using fine iron, fine steel, and other ordinary metals. Even though they were also very strong, their strength could only be realized by the Tang Sect using those mechanical blueprints. Teacher Sun, you've really tapped into the full potential of the Tang Sect. Bei Bei said, now that the first batch of soul tools for the 3 Soul Engineer Legions has been completed, we've been conducting training every day. Perhaps our 3 Soul Engineer Legions aren't strong enough to change the entire situation of the war, but they'll be a force to be reckoned with. When needed, we can attack and defend. Huo Yuao said, Elder Senior, I have a suggestion. Bei Bei nodded and answered, go on. Huo Yuao continued, I suggest that we specially divide some people to specialize in manufacturing stationary soul cannon shells. A stationary soul cannon's greatest advantage lies in its effective range. Since we can use fine iron to create the main structure of our soul tools, we can also manufacture cannon shells. As long as we reduce their strength below a certain standard, fine iron and steel should be able to handle them. Bei Bei furrowed his brow and said, we'll only be able to manufacture class 3 stationary soul cannon shells then. Wouldn't that be too weak? Huo Yuao's eyes flashed and he replied, it might not be. If we thicken the layer of fine iron and steel on the outer shell, we should be able to increase the soul cannons to at least a class 4 standard. Furthermore, these outer shells can be manufactured by ordinary blacksmiths. We can add a very thin layer of rare metals as the innermost layer. In that case, we should be able to create class 4 stationary soul cannon shells. Although the destructiveness of a class 4 stationary soul cannon shell is only roughly at the standard of a class 5 soul cannon, we'll still be able to gain a very huge advantage in long-range attacks if we have enough of them. They'll be especially useful for aerial soul tools. Given my spirit power, we can specialize in using stationary soul cannons to attack the Sun Moon Empire's aerial surveillance soul tools that within a 10-kilometer radius. Destroying aerial surveillance soul tools doesn't require too much power either. After hearing Huo Yuao's words, Bei Bei nodded repeatedly and said, all right. If you think this is plausible, I'll arrange for you to find Teacher Sun when this meeting is over. After that, you can quickly perform tests and come up with a proposition before we commit to anything. We don't have many soul engineers in the Douluo continent, but we have many blacksmiths. Hire another batch of them. All right. After this, Bei Bei introduced all the details relating to the Tang Sect to everyone. There were simply too many matters to deal with in the Tang Sect right now. Bei Bei was also very relieved now that Huo Yuao and the rest had returned. At least there would now a bunch of them helping him with all the work. Otherwise, he would have died from fatigue. He wouldn't even have enough time to search for the Blue Silver Emperor. After the meeting was over, Huo Yuao left the room and was prepared to find Sun Wen. After seeing the Death God and learning about some soul tools on the battlefield, he wanted to discuss all of it with him. Hey, wait a minute. Someone called to Huo Yuao, causing him to turn around perplexedly. He only saw Nan Kikayu chasing after him with a grin on her face. What's wrong, Kikayu? You're still gloating? Huo Yuao laughed. Nan Kikayu snorted and replied, am I that sort of person? I'm here to help you. Huo Yuao was curious as he asked, help me? Help me with what? Nan Kikayu chuckled and said, do you want to go out and play? I have an idea that will let Eldest Senior agree to let you go out. What? Huo Yuao appeared delighted. He didn't really want to leave, but he might have a chance to bump into Wang Donga if he left Shrek City. Huo Yuao was doubtful as he asked, what idea could you have? Nan Kikayu snorted and said, you just need to agree to one of my conditions before I'll bring you along. What's the condition? Tell me. Huo Yuao asked. Nan Kikayu paused for a moment and she turned slightly red. After that, she answered, I want you to be my boyfriend for a few days. What? Huo Yuao was stunned for a moment. He was a little embarrassed as he looked at her and shook his head helplessly before turning around and leaving. Hey. Nan Kikayu stomped her foot in anger. Am I that annoying? Can't you even pretend to be my boyfriend? Huo Yuao shook his head and replied, I'm sorry, Kikayu. We can negotiate other things, but I can't accede to this request of yours. You should know my feelings for Donga. If I agree to your request, I'll be hurting you. That won't be good for either of us. I'm really sorry. You're a nice lady, and I'm sure you'll find your prince charming in the future. I'll go and find Teacher Sun first. After he finished speaking, he turned around and left. Of course, Huo Yuao could sense the feelings that Yu and Nan Kikayu had for him. It was just that he was overly sad because of what had happened to Wang Donga and Wang Qiu, and really didn't wish to associate himself with anyone else. If he were more determined when Wang Qiu got close to him, the tragedy might not have happened. This was why he was now very disciplined with regards to matters of the heart. Even though Tang Wutong looked almost identical to Wang Donga, he still decided to immediately steer clear from her after verifying that she wasn't Wang Donga. He didn't want to give her and himself the wrong impression. She had her own feelings. When a guy and a girl stay around each other too much, it was inevitable that feelings would grow between them. Huo Yuao didn't wish for such a situation to happen. This was why he rejected Nan Kikayu so readily. Perhaps this might hurt her in the short term, but it was better than hurting her after she was even more emotionally involved. Humph. Guys are also heartless. I don't want any Prince Charming. Don't leave. Let me finish talking first. Nan Kikayu was fuming as she pursued Huo Yuao, stopping him in his tracks. Huo Yuao sighed slightly and asked, Kikayu, what else do you want? She snorted and said, it's a good thing for you. I still have to chase you for this, but you're so unwilling. Huo Yuao was apologetic. I'm sorry, Kikayu. Ever since Qiu left and Donga fell into a coma, I've not been feeling very good. If there's anything that I've done to offend you, please forgive me. Nan Kikayu glared at Huo Yuao and said, do you know how much I hate you? It's always like this, acting so kind and treating others as outsiders. Even if you can't be my boyfriend, can't you at least be an ordinary friend? As she spoke, her eyes had already turned red. Huo Yuao's heart softened and he said, we've always been friends. We're even partners, even closer than ordinary friends. Nan Kikai's expression became milder and she said, that's more acceptable. All right, I shall not delay you. I'll get straight to the point. Do you remember my mum mentioning that there's a mysterious place where the Earth Dragon Sect is that she wishes to give to the Tang Sect? Huo Yuao was moved and he said, yes, Elder Nan did mention it before. Why? Haven't we gone to retrieve it yet? Nan Kyukai said. One look and I can tell that you didn't fully understand her words. My mum was telling you that the place is likely to be accessible only to you, as the temperature inside is extremely low. Ordinary soul masters can't possibly survive inside, much less venture deep into it. According to the information that our ancestors left behind, there's likely to be a mine inside. This mine is also very strange. It's extremely cold inside. We can only predict that there's some kind of rare metal inside, but we can't tell how rare it is. If you're interested, you can go and take a look since you've nothing much to do now and the war situation has more or less stabilized. If you retrieve rare metals, you can bring some of them back. So it's about this matter. Huro Yuao finally understood and said with gratitude, thanks, Kyukayu. I'll return and ask eldest senior for permission first. Nan Kyukai nodded and said, all right, I'll go and find my mother too. I'll ask if she's free within this period of time. Hey, our Sect's territory has already been occupied by the Sun Moon Empire. If we return, we must be careful too. Huro Yuao smiled and said, no worries, it won't be some kind of death trap. We've already overcome the death god. Do we need to be afraid of ordinary soldiers from the Sun Moon Empire? Nan Kyukai laughed and said, eldest senior just lectured you, but you've already gone back to your old ways. Aren't you afraid that I'll report you to him? Huro Yuao laughed. I'm not afraid. You aren't that kind of person. You're the most loyal. Nan Kyukai nodded and said, it seems like we can only be good brothers in this life. Huro Yuao chuckled. It's great to be good brothers. See, I'm so good to my brothers. All right, I'll find Teacher Sun first. We'll talk when we get back. In the next few days, Huro Yuao was completely busy. His discussion with Sun Zuen took 6 hours before he invested his energy into developing stationary soul cannon shells. Sun Zuen handed this job to him. If it was Sun Zuen, he would find it very easy to complete this task. As for the Earth Dragon Sect, Bei allowed him to proceed there after he was done with this task. During the breaks in his experiments, Huro Yuao wanted to make a trip to the Sea God's Island and ask Elder Sun about a problem he had faced during his cultivation. It was just that he found it difficult to turn his attention away from his experiments after he started on them. He only found the time after he completed all his experiments. After the Class 4 stationary soul cannon shells were completed, they were only 2/3 as strong as normal Class 4 stationary soul cannon shells. However, their effective range was almost the same. This was the result of the materials used. Furthermore, Sun Zuen was already very pleased that they could make it this far. Huro Yuao had used a few techniques in their construction. Amongst them, the most important technique was the delayed activation component of the stationary soul cannon shells. When such cannon shells were fired, they normally relied on the thrust of their tail ends to reach far away before exploding. The components that gave them their thrust and power had to be separated using a strong rare metal. The stronger a cannon shell was, the more precious the rare metal needed to separate the components. However, Huro Yuao went against conventional logic this time in his design. He used a new activation technique. First, as these soul cannon shells were specially designed for Juga divine crossbows, Huro Yuao fully tapped into their thrusting force. The cannons were able to fire the cannon shells around 2 kilometers in distance. If the shells were detonated within these 2 kilometers, a lot of energy is undoubtedly wasted. Huro Yuao didn't separate the components, but placed them together in the same compartment. At the bottom of the cannon shells, he used some mechanical principles and created a delayed activation component. When these shells were fired by the cannons, they would automatically be activated. However, as it didn't have the thrust component, the power component should directly blow apart. However, with the delayed activation component, the power component was meant to blow apart after some time. It would take a few seconds. Within these few seconds, the shell would have flown more than 2 kilometers away. When the power component was about to be detonated, the central detonation component would take effect. The power component was divided into 2 parts. One of these parts was the second thrust component. This second thrust component would increase the speed of the shell once again, reaching the speed of an original Class 4 shell and flying far away. Due to the initial propulsion, it just needed to increase the speed of the shell. In this way, a lot of energy was conserved. Although the strength of the power component was slightly reduced as it was smaller, it was important to remember that the outer shell and mechanical components were made completely from fine iron. It was already very difficult to achieve this. Such a cannon shell would be 2/3 as strong as usual, but its cost would only be a tenth of normal. This was not even including the fact that some rare metals couldn't be found on the market. It was indeed possible to mass produce such cannon shells. Of course, Huro Yuao's research only went this far. Stronger stationary soul tools couldn't be manufactured in this way. This was because they were too strong and needed rare metals for their outer shells. However, adopting this method would undoubtedly help to conserve resources. He had finally finished. Huro Yuao reported his results to Bei and was excited as he sat in the chair in front of Bei, gulping down water. He was completely tired out over the past half month. Bei couldn't help but smile when he saw Huro Yuao's excited look. After Huro Yuao and the rest returned, they had helped him with a lot of work. He had been much more relaxed over the past half month. Yuao, when are you planning to leave since the experiments are done? Bei asked. Huro Yuao was puzzled as he asked, leave? Where to? Bei was speechless and said, your memory is failing you. Have you forgotten what you promised, Kyukayu? They are helping us. We can't delay any further. Go and take a look. If it's some kind of precious rare metal, bring it back. Huro Yuao recalled his conversation with Nan Kyukai that day and was embarrassed as he scratched his head. All right, eldest senior. I'll go over in a day or two. Bei said, all right, you can go in 2 days' time. You should also rest over these 2 days. You can't spend all your time researching in the future. Look at Teacher Sun. He's a soul tool maniac right now. Sun Zuen had become the busiest person in Shrek City. However, it was weird. He managed to become a titled Douluo amidst all his business. Recently, he was researching his special Class 9 soul tool. Once his research was over, he would become a true Class 9 soul engineer. He would even be stronger than most ordinary Class 9 soul engineers. Huro Yuao chortled and said, I can't rest. I had some doubts during my cultivation earlier. I still need to ask Elder Sun about them. Eldest senior, I'll leave first if there's nothing else. I'll go to the Sea God's Pavilion straight away. If you want to find me, ask someone to go over there to call me over. After he finished, he quickly rushed out. To him, every minute was precious. His soul power had increased by another rank over the past half month. He was now a Class 74 control type soul sage. This increase was a result of his accumulation, as well as his research into the soul power of the beast god. As he was busy performing experiments, Huro Yuao didn't manage to improve in his earlier cultivation. But now that the experiments were over, it was time for him to work towards improvements in that area. Yuao, wash up before going. Bei smiled as he called out to Huro Yuao from behind. All right. Huro Yuao acknowledged his words before he disappeared. Bei wore a smile on his face and shook his head helplessly. He gently leaned back in his chair. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. He pulled the drawer in front of him open and took out a small jade box. Pinkish lights flashed inside this box. It was given to him by the delegate silken mortal, and it was one of the 2 valuable treasures needed to save Tanya. However, the only problem was that the blue silver emperor had yet to surface until now. Xiaoya, where are you? How are you doing? Bei's expression turned gentler as he thought of her. However, he was deeply worried. It had already been so long since he had received any news of Tanya. Without a doubt, she must have been completely influenced by those evil soul masters and lost her awareness. Bei really wanted to risk everything to find her. He had already secretly decided in his heart that he was going to leave the Tang Sect to find her after the 3 soul engineer legions were fully equipped. No matter what price he had to pay, he had to bring her back safely even if he couldn't find the blue silver emperor. Huro Yuao quickly went to Shrek Academy after leaving the Tang Sect. The academy was considered to be in the inner city now. Although Shrek City had expanded, Shrek Academy hadn't. They only added an extra experimental ground outside of the soul tool department. Now that war had begun on the continent, even Shrek Academy wasn't completely safe. Apart from the students who were already in the academy, the number of new students was decreasing. If Shrek Academy was already like that, there was no point talking about other academies. Huro Yuao went straight to Sea God's Island after entering the academy. When he was outside the Sea God's Pavilion, he first kowtowed to the golden tree before going in to find Elder Sun. Elder Sun looked much better than he had the last time they had met. He directly brought Huro Yuao to his room to talk to him. Elder Sun. Huro Yuao was delighted as he rushed in front of Elder Sun. My experiments have succeeded. We can start manufacturing low-tier Class 4 stationary soul cannon shells now. If we make them in batches, we should be able to surprise the Sun Moon Empire. Elder Sun was in awe as he said, oh, you've actually succeeded. You're indeed a genius. It's only been a few days, but Yuao has already completed such crucial research. It's even something the Sun Moon Empire can't replicate. After Yuao started researching, Bei had already reported his idea to Elder Sun during their regular meetings at the Sea Gods Pavilion. Shrek Academy was no longer peaceful after the war started. The conference of the Sea Gods Pavilion was meant to be annual, but it was now changed to regular monthly meetings. If there were other special situations, more of such meetings had to be organized. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.